Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Farm Smart Live. So glad to have you. We have about 160 people on our Zoom this morning, and we're so excited to have you. Today, just want to remind you that we're coming to you live from Holtville. So we're not someplace far away. This is right here in Imperial Valley, agriculture that happens every day where we live. So today we're visiting Schaffner Dairy, which is once again in Holtville, California. Our presenter is uh, Chase Schaffner. He is the dairy manager. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that dairy, what a dairy is. A lot of kids don't know that term dairy. It's a place where cows are and where they milk cows and they uh, produce milk and milk products. And California is the #1 dairy state. So we produce more milk here in California and milk products than any other state. And Schaffner Dairy contributes to that, making California the #1 dairy state. And dairy is also important in our diet. Dairy has its own section on my plate of all the different kinds of foods that we should be eating. We get yogurt and cheese and ice cream. So lots of good food comes from dairy that are also healthy for us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chase, and he is going to show us Schaffner Dairy in Hopeville, California. Good morning, Chase.
I'm the manager here at Schaffner Dairy. This dairy started over 100 years ago. My great grandfather came over from Switzerland and he started with 20 cows. And we've been dairying ever since. And now today we're milking up to 4,200 cows. Um, and here on the dairy, we have two different types of cows. We have Jerseys and Holsteins. Now the differences between these is Holsteins are typically a lot taller, and Jerseys are a lot smaller. Holsteins produce more milk, but there's a lot more butter fat in the Jersey milk. So if you want to make butter, ice cream, and things like that, you typically want to have more Jersey milk. But we have a blend of both because it just makes the milk quality better overall. Now, a quick question for you guys. It's a really important one. Which of these cows is the one that produced chocolate milk?
Okay, you guys can answer in the in
Uh,
the in the chat.
what answers are we getting? Yeah, which one? Are you saying the brown cow?
There are some brown cow answers. Yes, there are
There
some
we
brown
go.
cow
There,
answers.
there. That's a very good try. And they're both white milk. Cows do not produce chocolate milk. It's all white milk across the board. So that's a trick question that everybody always messes up. Do have different personalities a little bit. Jerseys, they love to come up and just lick you. They lick everything. Typically, if you go in a pen with jerseys, all the corrals look almost like chrome because they just lick and lick and lick all day long. They love doing that. Some interesting things we do here. Every cow on this dairy has a name. All right, here, this Holstein, her name is 47557. Right there on the ear tag. Every cow has a name. They also have an RFID chip. So in their ear, they have earrings that they wear, not only to look fashionable, but it keeps track of everything that we need to know about the cow. Not only milk, how much milk it produces. It tells you if it ever needed any shots. It tells her if she had a baby, her birth date, everything. I can wish her happy birthday. But we also put on their ear tag right here the birthday. So this cow was born December 27th, 2018. So almost on Christmas. But she just had a baby within the last 3 days, and she's gonna be going in our milk herd. So cows only produce milk if they've had a baby. If they're younger, they don't produce milk. It's only if they've had a baby. And so all these cows in this pen are cows that have had a baby within the last 3 days. So typically what we do, as you can see, these cows have color marks on their face, the blue. What that is if she's in her pen and she had her baby, in the morning we will lock her up and mark her face saying, hey, she had a baby, and we'll move her over into this pen right here, and we keep an eye on her, making sure that she doesn't get sick, she doesn't run a fever, and make sure she has all her vitamins and like Flintstone vitamins kind of equivalent that they need to be healthy. And then after they're good, we'll move her out and she'll be milking in the herd with the rest of the cows producing milk. Does anybody know how many gallons of milk a cow can produce?
Let's see if we can get some numbers going in the chat there. Oh, someone said 5,000, 5 gallons, 14. So lots of different answers. So we're gonna stop that. We're gonna stop that poll right there.
All right. Well, that's the thing. It does vary with cows, but typically on our dairy, cows can produce 7 to 8 gallons of milk per day. So that's a lot more than I can drink per day per cow. Even a baby calf will drink about a gallon of milk per day to maybe a gallon and a half. But that's way more milk produced. So when we milk them, it distributes to schools, and you guys can make, get your cereal, eat your cereal and chocolate milk and whatever else you want. And they can make butter and things like that. Now, another thing we do with these cows is they have food just like you. So instead of cereal in the mornings, we give them this, and this is different hays, and they got corn in there and things like that. And we actually have a nutritionist that will make a recipe just like your mom would cook lunch or dinner, and then we make it and give it to them, because not only is it healthy, it has everything they need to make them strong and healthy, it also tastes good. Cows can be very picky eaters. It's really important to keep them happy and comfortable, because if they're not, they don't produce as much milk, and their health will go down. But so our whole goal here is to make sure they're happy and healthy and comfortable. Another fun fact is, did you know cows have friends? Friends, lifelong friends. I actually have a picture that there's a calf that was born. It was 701, and its friend was 702. They're born on the same day, and they made it all the way and up in the milking herd, and they are still eating next to each other that day. And it separates their friends. They don't like it, so we try to keep them all together and limit the amount we move them as much as possible.
We all like to be with our friends.
Absolutely, yeah. Cows are the same way.
Now, we were at the feedlot last week for steers, and so
Yes.
just wanted to make sure if you could just name some of the items that are in the feed.
Oh, this one we have, if you look at the feed, we have Bermuda hay. This is actually soybeans. They taste a lot like peanuts, and cows love them. We actually roast them, and so they're just like roasted peanuts. They eat them up, and it has a lot of energy. It also has vitamins and nutrients, and it has salt in there, just like any recipe you'd be cooking with. And we sometimes have cotton in there. And the rations do change throughout the year. Their food does, because of where we grow a lot of our own things like corn and like that. So if we have a lot of corn, we want to add more to the feed, and we have to constantly balance out everything we need and making sure that we can use as much of the stuff we grow as possible.
Someone told us that sometimes cows eat Twinkies.
Yes, very much so. I even heard that there was a dairy that had a contract of broken Jolly Rancher candy, and he would feed them to the cows because it's sugar. Sugar is it's got power in it. It's got a lot of nutrients, and it really gets them going. But yeah, they'll eat Twinkies. As a matter of fact, one big thing in here we do feed is called bakery. Bakery is literally, you got cereal, old cereal from like the stores that they didn't sell, donuts and bread and things like that, and they get them from all the stores. And so instead of throwing them away, they grind it up into one big mix, and they feed it to the cows, and they love it because it just, there's actually donuts in it, and so they get their breakfast donuts just like you guys would.
Hey, someone has asked what the average age is.
The average age of a cow is probably 4.5 to 5 years old, but we've had a cow on record here that has been milking for actually 12 lactations. So she's 13 years old, and she was a really good cow. Matter of fact, she's still on the dairy somewhere.
Nice.
She's nice. Very tall too. But yeah, it really comes down to if cows if they're milking and they're doing good, they stay here a lot longer. If they get old or you know, cannot produce as much milk, it's almost like paying your rents, you know, and then then they graduate and they can go to a feed yard, which you saw last week. All right, and here's another thing. These cows, once they've had their baby, we mark them in blue, and then we write a date on the side of the cow. That date on the 15th, she had her baby on the 15th. So that was on yesterday. She just had her baby. So we'll be keeping an eye on her, but she looks like she's doing good, and then she'll be in the milking herd. Now, just like all the other, just like humans, we have a hospital, we have a maternity ward, and nursery. And so what happens is when the babies are born, we treat it just like a hospital would. Sometimes when babies are born, they come out no problem, easy. They get up and they'll start drinking off their mom, no problem. But sometimes calves will be born, not get up, or sometimes the calves will be born backwards and have a hard time coming out of the mother, and they'll need to be assisted. And so over here, we'll get to the area where it's what we call the maternity ward. So right here, we have a cow. She had a calf today. What we do is we bring her and make sure there's another baby inside, because sometimes one calf will come out and be born, and there'll be a calf inside and we not know it. So we have to make sure that that calf can come out, because sometimes a cow gets tired and it just doesn't push the other baby out. Here's where they also get their nutrients. Here we give them what's called multi. It's a liquid version of what's equivalent to like the Flintstone pills. So it's really, they don't get nutrients when they produce milk. Sometimes they just feel weak and they'll fall down, and we have to give them an IV of like a mixture of calcium and sugars and things that give them more energy to get up so they can eat food and drink water.
Someone's asking, Chase, is that how often do they have twins? I mean, are there often more than one calf born?
Well, typically cows only have one calf, but they do have twins, probably maybe 1% of the time, 2%. Actually, last year is the first time in our dairy's history that I know of that we had triplets born.
Wow.
And it was one Jersey, all of them lived, and that was super rare. That does not happen very often at all. So
very special.
So what happens is when we pick up the baby calf, we have its own little, this is what I like to call their school bus. They graduate from the maternity ward up here, and that's where they get, they'll get what, they have belly buttons that have an umbilical cord on them, and we have to make sure that they get disinfected, and then we have to make sure that the calf gets an ear tag on there so we know who she is with their mother, because we keep track of all that. Then from there, we move them into the nursery, and that's where we're headed right now. This is the nursery. The nursery is building that conditioning and heating, and this is where the calves, they have their first feeding of milk. The first is called colostrum. We'll step on in here. So all the calves in here were born in the last day or so. And they get their first feeding of milk, because we need to get milk into their system, they need to drink their milk within the first 2 hours of being born, because the sooner they get milk, the better they're going to do in the long run, because they need all the nutrients they need to get to be healthy. If they do not get that colostrum at all, there's a very high chance that they won't ever be a milk cow. Probably almost, I'd say 99%, they will never become a milk cow, because they'll always be sick and just not feel good. So the milk is super important to get to them on time. So every calf here, we also do DNA sample, make sure they have no diseases, and we send them off to labs and to make sure that they can't get other calves sick, and it keeps them all healthy. And this one here, hey, you, come here. He was born early, but he's doing very good. We call him Paque, which is like pequeño. He's very small, but he's very healthy. He still drinks. But typically, when it's very hot, it's very hard on the cow, and the babies can be born too early, and they take a lot of care to make sure that that calf is healthy. but he's up and going. He's already drinking half a gallon of milk in the mornings, so he's good to go.
Well, there's lots
But,
of ahs and oohs and so cutes in the chat.
oh yeah, they're saying ooh, yeah, they're very cute. And here's what's crazy: this calf right here, or this one, is actually 4 days old. 4 days old, and then was born today. And you see how much smaller he is. But super. Yeah, I interrupted his nap. So when babies are born, all these calves, you can tell they're all sleeping because being born is a lot of work, and they sleep a lot of times. They eat and sleep is the job, and just stay. And we and we keep them clean and in here we actually have cameras. We monitor babies 24 hours a day. We have 3 shifts of people that make sure the calves are hydrated, that they don't get any kind of stomach problems like that. And when they're actually trained that if they get dehydrated, they can give them shots like a doctor would, or even IV. You know, if they get a little dehydrated, and it makes them healthy, and then gets over that hump, and then they'll stand up, eat on their own, and then they'll graduate to the next level. Yep, we got a lot more calves over here too.
Oh, there were a lot of calves in that pen.
Oh, we'll start right here actually. So right here, our cows get milked twice a day, every day, even Christmas. And what they do is they'll come in from the pen, and then this right here will actually give them a shower. And it cleans off any dirt and mud that's on them, and it makes them nice and clean. So they get showered twice a day. That's 2 times more than I shower a day. Now after they get showered, they go into the barn where they are to be milked. And we're going in there right now.
Someone's asking if it hurts when you milk a cow.
That is an excellent question. And the answer is no, it does not hurt, because we actually have little vacuums that go on them, and they have special regulators to make sure it doesn't suck too hard. Matter of fact, when you stick your finger in there, it feels like a calf sucking on it. It just barely, very gently squeezes the teat. So what happens is the cows come in here, they line up, we put this blue stuff on them, and it's a disinfectant to make sure that the teats are nice and clean. And then after that, they wipe it off, and they'll put on the milk machine. And then the cows, after about 1 minute, will kind of relax and let down their milk. If you look inside this little sight hole, that's the milk coming out of the cow.
Wow. And about how long does that take?
Like this one here, it's slowing down. And when it's done milking, we'll shut it off, take off the milker, and then we'll put on we'll put on more of that blue disinfectant. And then after she's done, she'll walk back to her pen all by herself. The cows, they really walk up here on their own. They go back to the pens on their own because they love the thing every day. And if you change anything to the routine, they do not like it. So matter of fact, one time we had oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they like their routine.
Yes, they do. And one time we had to work on half of our barn to repair the floors, and half the cows would not go in because they like the left side or the right side of the barn. So we got left and right-handed cows here at the dairy.
Someone's asking, how many cows do you milk at one time?
So this barn here, actually we have like 2 barns under one roof. This one has 23 cows on each side. So that's 46, and the other one I believe is 25 on each side, so it's 50. So 50 plus, what is that? Yeah, I got to do the math. But yeah, and then we milk each cow twice a day. But as you see, when they're done, this little cow lock goes up and they go step out, and we have automatic washers. And then there's a cow right here coming in. She knows to stick in the little lock here, and she'll line up automatically. We don't have to do anything.
Someone's
Just like
asking
you guys
if
go to
there's
school.
Someone's asking if there's any, is there any time a case where you would milk a cow by hand, or do you know how to do that?
Yes, absolutely. Matter of fact, if I go to this cow right here, you squeeze on the teat very gently, and
Woohoo!
when the cows come in, you have to milk them by hand because you milk each teat and you check to make sure there's no like cheese that comes out or any kind of blood, because sometimes cows will step on each other and they get hurt. And if they do, we'll have to mark the cow and put her in the hospital to treat her and get her better. But with here, this is called forestripping. So when we forestrip the cow, it also allows her to let her milk down more. Yeah, so this is the disinfectant they stick on there. But yes, every cow is milked by hand technically for a short period of time. And then the cows that just had a baby will milk the colostrum out individually into buckets, which are like these buckets right here. And this, when they fill it up, they give that to the calves to drink. Because colostrum is a lot thicker than regular milk. It even has a orange, kind of like an orange yellowish tinge to it. It's very thick, like eggnog. And the calves, they love it and they need to have that. So after the cow's here, they milk into, look where we at. Okay, so when the cow's milk goes through the pipes in here, and it goes up and here, and goes into our milk room over here.
Hey, Chase, I was there one time a long time ago, and all those pipes were really cold.
Oh yeah, and I'll show you guys that right now. That's a good point. So the milk goes through here, goes 4 filters to make sure no dirt or any kind of manure gets in the milk. You know, we filter them and we change them out every pen, and then it goes through here. This pipe, if you would feel it, it's 102 degrees. That's the milk comes out of a cow. A cow's body temperature is 102 degrees. Very, very hot compared to humans. It goes through this chiller. The chiller cools down the milk very quickly. When it comes out, it's just above freezing. Very, very cold onto the touch, almost like touching ice. And then from that point, it comes directly into the milk tanks. In our milk tanks, we have a monitor here. This wheel goes around once every week, and we can see what the temperature of the milk is. If it stays in the green area, it means the milk is a little bit too hot, and we'll have to rerun it through the chillers to make sure it stays cold. If you look at see that the temperature spiked up, that means we washed tank. It got all the way to almost 160 degrees because we got to clean the tank every time it gets pumped out by the milk truck. And then from there, the milk tank, the milk truck backs up here, and it goes directly into the milk truck. And we actually send our milk to Arizona and sometimes I think San Diego. It just kind of varies where we. And it goes to Phoenix or Tempe, Arizona. It's a 4-hour trip, and all that insulation on that tank, and it will still only wear about 1 degree the whole trip because it's so much milk it doesn't even heat up, not in the summertime.
People are asking about temperature, like how weather affects them as far as their like if it's raining or if it's super hot, if that affects how they feel or about how they milk.
Oh, weather affects them very much. Like it affects everything from if they get pregnant to how their calf is when they're born, their milk production, if they gain weight, everything depends on the weather. They're very susceptible to it, and it's very hard here in the valley because it does get very hot, and we have fans and misters that are on all summer to keep them cool. Because if a cow is hot and starts panting, you could put her in a freezer. That's the coldest thing you could think of, and it'll still take 4 hours for her to cool down. You know, you can't just, you know, give her some Gatorade and say you're good. I mean, we just got to, the key is to make sure they never get hot. Now, the cold is a totally different story. Here, it doesn't get cold enough to really affect them. They love the cold. Matter of fact, I heard the ideal temperature for a cow that they love is like 50 degrees, 47 to 50 degrees. They're very big. They're designed to handle the cold because Holsteins and Jerseys, they were originally from England and Europe where there's colder climates. So they are used to that. So we try to keep them as comfortable as possible. And then in here, inside the barn, they also, a reason they walk up here by themselves is they love to have all their fans and air conditioning that we got going in here to cool them down. So they come in here, they get a little break out of the heat, and then they get that pressure relief from their udders, and then they walk back and they know they get fresh food for them. So. All right. Well, in here in the barn, this is the cows being milked. They're looking at us.
I think you said it one time before, but the average lifespan, I mean, how long does a dairy cow usually, do you usually use a dairy cow, the lifespan?
Between 4.5 years and 12, but usually about 4.5. Till she doesn't milk anymore. If she goes to a feed yard, it could be another, 6 months to a year. Depends on how much they gain.
All right, someone's asking about their teeth. Do cows bite?
That is a good question. So cows actually only have teeth on their bottom. On their bottom, you'll see that they have just a gum pad on top. So it's designed for grinding the feed. When they eat hay and things like that, they grind it down, and cows will swallow it and they kind of turn it into mush. Now, here's another fun fact. Do you guys know how many stomachs a cow has?
Ooh, let's see if we get some answers for that in the chat. Oh, so yeah, a lot of people are saying 2, 3, 4. Someone says 4.
4, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, technically it's one stomach, but 4 compartments. But what it is cows are what they call a ruminant animal. Us humans only have one stomach, and everything goes through that stomach and goes in there. But as you can see, the cows, when they're being milked and standing there, they just start chewing. Well, there's no feed around here. What are they chewing on? Well, the cows, what they'll do is they'll eat the feed and swallow it, and that goes to what's called the rumen part of the stomach, and it sits there, and it kind of gets soft. And then when the cows are just relaxing and just chilling out, they'll kind of throw it back up in their mouth to feed it even more fine. And when they swallow it again, it goes into the other stomachs to be processed and to feed. This is how cows get, because hay is very dry, it's very strong. It's like you couldn't eat it, us humans couldn't eat it ourselves without getting it wet and moist. So that's how cows kind of digest things.
Someone's asking about their tails. Like, are the tails sensitive part of their body?
Yes, their tails. You know what? We'll go over here and I'll show you an up close of tails.
I know I've raised a few steers with my kids, and we use the tail quite a bit in order to direct where that steer needed to go.
It ends right here. So the end of the tail is very hairy and long. And what we actually do is we get scissors or a tail trimmer, and it trims the hair off the tails so manure and things like that won't stick to it. But the cows, they use their tails like a whip. With flies getting on their back or whatever, they go, and they just whip their tail around to keep the flies off them all day. And it has a very useful, it's very useful for them.
Now, we had this question last week at the feedlot, so maybe someone knows the answer already, but approximately how much water does a cow drink in one day? About 30 gallons. It's about 30 gallons.
30 gallons.
And we always tell kids it's about a bathtub full. It's a great way to remember. Someone wrote in the chat a bathtub that they remember from last week. Awesome.
I believe it. I believe it. That is a lot of water. Cows drink a lot of water. Matter of fact, we have a water pond here, and it holds 1.5 million gallons of water, and that pond we made in case that we run out of water, like if they had to shut off the ditch, and that would last us 2 weeks in the summertime before the cows would drink 1.5 million gallons of water.
Now, you mentioned their teeth, but someone's asking about the tongue, because a cow has a really long tongue, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I think they can be up to 12 to 17 inches on some of them. And the cows, they love licking everything with their tongues. They got very long tongues, and they're very rough.
Now, how about after the milk? I don't know if you mentioned it or not. You talked about the storage being really cold, but what about any kind of testing on the milk to make sure that there's no contaminants or, toxicity or anything like that?
Well, milk numerous things. One, yes, we monitor the temperatures to prevent bacteria from growing. They check for things like E. coli, salmonella, staph. I think there's over 50 things specifically that they test for daily. And if there is like, another one is antibiotics. So some people are like wondering if the cow has a shot, it could show up in the milk and it could get in the tank. And then if they test that positive, we have to continuously dump milk tanks until we get 2 negative tests for that antibiotic that is in the milk. So that's another reason we keep track of our cows, is because we keep them separate. If they're pregnant and they're not milking, we dry them up where they don't milk, and they have some antibiotics to make sure they heal properly, because their udder needs time to rest and heal, so the next time it has a baby, it can produce milk again. Because it does get tired after a while. It is kind of like a muscle. We have to make sure that it does not get mixed with our milk pen. So we actually have locks on there, and if it ever got mixed, we would have to use our ones and our electronic IDs to find that cow and get it out as quickly as possible.
Someone's asking, what's the favorite part of your job? What do you like most about your job as dairy manager?
Oh man, I like solving problems. Every day there's some kind of issue, something going on, and I'm constantly trying to be like Sherlock Holmes and find out what's going on. If the calf is sick, like, hey, why is the calf sick? Or if there's a cow that is limping, why is it limping? Did somebody leave something in the pen and it stepped on it, or whatever? We're always trying to just fix things. I've worked here all my life, and every day there's been something to fix.
Awesome. Oh, those are beautiful.
Here's an interesting one. Actually, I told you about the Jerseys and the Holstein. We do have, this one's actually a crossbreed, but it's got Angus in it. So Angus is the all black ones that are typically in the feed yard.
Okay, I think maybe we might have lost the feed there. They're out in the country, so it's kind of hard to, get the internet out there sometimes. I'm going to try him one more time and see if he's still available. All right. No, they have lost their internet out there, but we want to thank you, Chase, for being on with us today. We want to thank everyone for joining us. We hope you learned some more about dairy cattle. Don't forget to check our schedule. We have Farm Smart Live every Friday. We'll be going to the fish farm here in a couple of weeks. We have an olive oil company we're going to be visiting. So lots of fun things about agriculture here in Imperial Valley. So we will see you all next Friday at 9:30. Thanks. Bye-bye.